Okay, we are going to go over figurative language now. Um, and then at the end, we'll go through a couple examples so that you know what to expect and how you are supposed to use figurative language to analyze a text, specifically the mood that the author is creating. So, as I mentioned before, based on our benchmark, when you're analyzing figurative language, here's what you have to do. You have to know what the specific types of figurative language are, like metaphor, simile, alliteration. You have to be able to identify it in the text. And then you've got to be able to analyze how the author uses it to create mood. Okay, we're going to talk about mood a little bit later. For now, we're going to focus on the knowing and the identifying. So I want to remind you or let you know that you have notes that you need to be taking on this video. Okay, so make sure you are doing so. One of the differences between figurative language and just normal language is the words are used differently to form a meaning that's different than the literal meaning. Okay? And what we see here is an example of simile. Her words were like daggers of icicles. Okay, so first of all, she's cold, or the words are cold or harsh, and daggers are sharp, painful. So they weren't really icicles, right? Her words were not actually icicles, and they actually weren't daggers. Okay, so those are metaphors. Sorry. Using like or as. Okay, that's a simile, not metaphors. But the point is to show the reader how perhaps angry she is, or how much conflict, and how personal she's getting. Okay. So here we have on this document that you have a list of our figurative language that we're studying, and this list is also in your vocab list, which you are studying and have been studying and have seen before already. I need to bring your attention here. This is not correct. That is chromosome reduction when creating gametes in a species that procreates sexually. So that's not the right term for this, for understatement. The correct term is Latides, okay, and it's spelled Litotes, not latotes, Latides, okay, and that means understatement. That is correct in your vocab list, so you're good as far as that goes. These questions you should probably take notes on. Okay. Whenever you are analyzing, you need to know what type. So that's what type of figurative language, that is identifying. Why does the author use figurative language rather than literal language? What is the benefit that he's getting out of it? For example, up here, the author really shows how angry and how personal the conflict is by using this simile. Like, daggers of icicles. Okay, so there's a reason the author chose that simile. How does the figurative language help the writer achieve his or her purpose? So these are kind of similar. Okay, why and how. I'll group those together even though they're not exactly the same. What is the denotation and connotation of the figurative language? Oddities and emotions. So we'll pick up on denotation and connotation toward the end of this video, but here let's just go ahead and make sure you understand. Like it says here, this is the literal meaning. So this is what it would say in the dictionary. Okay, connotation is kind of an added emotional weight that goes with it. Okay, it could be positive or negative. Negative emotional weight. Okay. And then finally, how does the use of figurative language help to create the mood? We're going to talk, like I said, more about mood here in a second. Okay. So a couple terms that we need to make sure we're understanding. We'll get to mood. We really need to understand denotation and connotation. Okay, maybe there's a, what color we got going here? Let's change that so that it stands out, or let's change it here. All right, so denotation, connotation, mood. These are terms that are going to be important in understanding what we're doing. Okay. Did we get any others? Yeah, mood. Well, so it's already highlighted, but moving on, we're going to go into a text. It's kind of a difficult text to understand. This writer is a very sharp writer. He's also from a while back. War of the Worlds was, to be honest, I'm not sure when, probably it's at least 50 years ago, I would assume. I've never actually, when did H.G. Wells write? I've never actually read him. I've never actually read War of the Worlds. I've seen 2 movies based on the video, based on the book. My point is, this is kind of difficult, but even though it's difficult, we can get a sense of the mood based off of the author's diction. That's word choice. And part of that word choice will be figurative language. Okay. Yeah, we need that one also. That's an important word to make sure we understand. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to take you through my process. We've got a couple of these to do, and then we'll move on. Beyond the pits, the little wedge of people with the white flag at its apex, that means top, arrested by this phenomenon, a little knot of small vertical black shapes upon the black ground. That's kind of a difficult sentence to understand. But what I want to focus on as we go. As the green smoke arose, their face flashed out pallid green and faded again as it vanished. Then slowly the hissing passed into a humming, into a long, loud buzz. And slowly a humped shape rose out of the pit, and the ghost of a beam of light seemed to flicker out of it. All right, so what I see here, okay, we've got some onomatopoeia happening. Hissing, that's a word that's spelled like it sounds. Hissing, humming, buzz. Okay, and we've got a lot of visual imagery. Okay, so these are onomatopoeias. All right, I'm going to change color to go to, let's say we've got a lot of imagery. Visual imagery, meaning it uses their eyes. Okay, so we got green smoke. Okay, you can see that. Vertical black shapes. on the black ground, pallid green, faded, flashed. And then the onomatopoeia is also auditory imagery. Okay, auditory meaning you hear it. And then we got a beam of light seems to flicker out from it. Okay, so there's a lot of, let's see if I can spell this correctly. There's a lot of onomatopoeia, okay, and we've got imagery as well. When it was as if an invisible yet intensely heated, okay, so heated, that's a touch imagery, okay, you can feel it. Heated finger were drawn through the heather between me and the Martians, and all along a curving line beyond the sand pits, the dark, okay, visual imagery, ground smoked and cracked, okay, visual, auditory, meaning hearing, and smoked also might be smell, sense of smell. Something fell with a crash, loud imagery, far away to the left, where the road from the Woking station opens up on common. Forthwith, the hissing and humming ceased, and the black dome-like object sank slowly out of sight into the pit. Okay, so more of the same, onomatopoeia and imagery in that specific text. Let's skip to the questions. We'll come back to this one next, okay? So, read the quote from War of the Worlds. Then circle the correct figurative language used in the paragraph. Then it was as if an invisible yet intensely heated finger were drawn through the heather between me and the Martians. So what I want you to notice, sometimes this can be difficult because a lot of these are multiple things, right? I showed you earlier that you had imagery that was also onomatopoeia. So whenever you're getting these questions, you need to make sure that you choose the best answer, the most exclusive answer. So if one can be onomatopoeia and, let's say, imagery, you just, based on the question, you choose which one is the best answer between the two. And that's generally what you do anyway on tests. You got to pick the best answer because other answers are sometimes pretty good. What I want you to draw your attention to here is heated finger drawn through, like somebody running their finger through something, like through the sand. And so that would make this personification because you are giving a non-human thing the characteristics of a human. Okay. We've got beads of sweat dripping down. That's touch imagery as well. Can't tell, but I can't tell if it's from dawn's early heat. Okay, touch imagery, or from my heart slamming against my chest. Okay, touch imagery. Moon after moon, I've been passed over. Okay, so this person is anxious about being picked, wants to be picked. Okay, wants to be picked badly. And this person has had problems in the past being picked as well. So I've been passed over. Today can't be the same. I tuck a lock of snow white hair behind my ear and do my best to be still. As always, Mama Agba makes the selection grueling. It's a good word. Touch imagery. because it's very difficult, like exhausting. Staring at each girl just long enough to make us squirm. All right. So let's go back over here. All I can do, it's all I can do not to scream. Okay, so that's exaggeration because just because you're upset, is it really all you can do not to scream? Like, are you fighting yourself to keep you from screaming? So that is exaggeration. Okay. Then slowly, we're going back to the War of the Worlds, the first text we had. Then slowly the hissing passed into a humming, into a long, loud buzz, and slowly a humped shape rose out of the pit. Okay, we have this right here. That's a word spelled like what it sounds. That is onomatopoeia. Okay, and so what we've done so far with these three questions is we have identified examples of figurative language. Now, the next step is going to have to be to analyze how it creates a certain type of mood that the author. So now we're moving on to the third step in the process. Like I told you, step number one is knowing what the different types of figurative language are. Second step is being able to identify. All right, and the third step is analysis. Okay, we got to be able to analyze. Oops. Not sure I'm having trouble with that word. Analyze how it creates mood. Once again, I want to remind you it's a choice, a deliberate choice by the writer to use specific literary figurative language in order to create various effects with the reader. Mood is one of those things that author tries to do. Okay, so now we will work through this part of text from Maya Angelou. Miss Bertha Flowers was the aristocrat of black stamps. I'm just going to mark things as I see them, okay? Aristocrat of black stamps. So that's a description of her. The aristocrat of black stamps. That's a comparison. She had the grace of control to appear warm in the cold weather, and on the Arkansas summer days, it seemed she had a private breeze which swirled around her, cooling her. All right, so she just, I don't know, she just had it all together, okay? The weather followed her, basically. The weather that she wanted followed her. Okay, private breeze swirled around her, cooling her. She was thin without the taut look of wiry people, and her printed viola dresses and flowered hats were as right for her as denim overalls for a farmer. Okay, so you comparison with the word as. She was our side's answer to the richest white woman in town. Okay, so we've got a couple options here. Miss Bertha Flowers was the aristocrat of black stamps. Okay, so we said that was a comparison. I don't see like her as here, so I'm gonna assume, or I'm gonna say that this one is simile. Metaphor, because it's comparison without the use of like or as. This one talked about how the weather always followed her where she went. That seems like an exaggeration, which leaves simile, and like I said, it's comparison using the word as. So simile is going to be in that blank right there. Okay, you need to include that in your notes. And then I want you to follow the link at the bottom of your notes to answer this question. There you go.